Hey everybody, this is part two, uh, and back again. I'm happy to report that the issues. Let me just put it this way, okay? Fayetteville, Georgia, has the best police department ever, okay, ever experienced. Just pure, straight up the best. They went out to our place, checked everything out, called, came back, um, explained what's going on. I just cannot say enough about how incredibly great the Fayetteville, Georgia Police Department is, and I owe them a cake. Uh, yeah. So there you go. All right. So for those of you who may be just joining, uh, and this is about a post that I wrote, um, and which is entitled uh, "Whistleblower Las Vegas Stadium Workers Tells Zenny 62 Media About Bad Bullets and Bad Wells Problem." Okay, and again, I said this is going to be a short live stream, and it still is going to be a short live stream. uh, and basically, you say, okay, what's the upshot of this, right? Why is this important? And it's important because two people who work on Las Vegas Stadium reached out to contact me unbeknownst to me. And as I explained in the first video, they sent what at first I mistook for a prank email. They proved that they were the real deal. And we had a number of phone calls today, or yesterday, if you are now on Tuesday. And I got a crash course lesson in how this really not so unique roof system works. But the problem isn't the design of the roof system. The problem are the allegations by the whistleblowers that the subcontractors, um, most notably the subcontractor um, with the name of Fresnet, was responding to pressure by the main contractor, Mortensen McCarthy, and essentially producing a substandard nodes product. And the node is a device that's about 12 inches long, is shaped like a U, that can take in multiple cables, but the bolts within the U and the welds that were made to form the U are allegedly, in a number of cases, not all, according to my sources, substandard. And the problem is that since these support the roof, the cable net roof connects to the nodes, which connects to the compressor ring, which in turn connects to a series of cables around the stadium. If there is the right amount of harmonic motion, like from sound or the wave or small tremor or compression, frame compression, it could collapse, potentially injuring thousands of people. So the reason this happened um, is that pure and simple, according to my sources, this was rushed. But look, my sources aside for the moment, the website for the contractor, subcontractor, excuse me, uh, by the name of Aaron, will tell you right, right there. It'll say, "Hey, you know what? Arab will say that they were hired to produce a project on a fast track. That was the objective of a number of subcontractors. It was getting it done. If they don't get it done on time, it cost them 5 million. I'm told 5 million a day. I thought it was a week, but it's 5 million a day. And so there's this rush. But the question I always had is, hey, wait a minute. Who is it in the first place that imposed that tight deadline? Even Oakland Raiders chief operating officer Don Webb has said we're operating on an impossibly tight deadline. His words. But who imposed that deadline and why? Okay, so they've set up this situation, and again, this happened to me out of the blue. I had no clue my day was going to turn this way. I literally shifted my day's responsibilities to do this because of its importance, because people thought enough, and they said they were looking on Google for something about you News 3 because they'd seen a broadcast related to the stadium, and then ostensibly I suppose they wanted to tell somebody what was going on, and they found my face and they took a chance and sent an email. That's exactly, sorry for those haters out there, that's how it happened. And I want to say this about the whole hating thing. You know, this is a serious project that involves thousands of people and thousands of lives, and it directly affects thousands of lives and indirectly affects millions of people. This isn't about stopping the project, that's impossible, okay? But it is about getting it right, and it's about saving lives. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I've said this. I'll throw in a word that Don Webb likes to use: ad nauseum. I've said this ad nauseum. Public projects of this size, and this is a public project that uses $750 million of taxpayer money. You say it's really hotel money, but it's earmarked for taxpayer use. Okay? So they're using $750 million of it. And normally, when you use an expenditure that large, the public, in the California parlance, demands the right to know on a weekly basis what the heck you're up to. But in Vegas, they don't do that. You have to guess, or somebody has to come along like these two fellas and decide that they're going to tell a person like me and hope that I have the means and the mind available to listen to them and get their message out. And that's precisely what I did. And it calls a lot into question. It calls into question why certain organizations act as simply mouthpieces, and in particular, when they're covering projects where many lives are involved, it calls into question what we're really trying to accomplish as a society. You know, why is it so important to hide things from people? Why do some people get so upset? That last sentence, I understand, because I remember what it was like to want the Raiders back in Oakland, and I remember how I felt about anybody that complained about, like Joe Devereaux. And the late Joe Devereaux was correct in pointing out that there needed to be more black contractors involved. All right? Pure, pure, pure. Okay? Pure out. So, uh, pure out. So, this is not a story about, this is a story about a couple of people that want something known. Pure out. And I have text messages, I have meeting dates, I've got copies of You know those little things you send on the email to confirm meetings at the stadium authority? I've got those. I've got more stuff coming from these folks. Okay. And where this is going to lead, I know where it's going to lead because I'm not looking for anything salacious. I'm not looking for that at all. I'm simply looking out to looking, and neither are they. I'm simply looking to help them get out the story about what's going on so that the public is appropriately informed. For those of you who are, as I speak, or maybe, or wouldn't surprise me, are saying, oh, Zinni this and Zinni that, uh, I could care less. Okay. Uh, I could care less. Because if something happens at the stadium and someone is hurt because of something that you didn't want the public to know, then whose fault is it but yours? It's your fault. So you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to shut me up, and you should be ashamed of yourself for not looking into it. I mean, basically, my question is, why do you want people to die? And why do you want people to get hurt? What kind of person are you? I'm not looking for you to answer the question because you're not somebody that I want to know. But I will say this, and I'll say it again. Las Vegas deserves to have this project done right. So sit back, be comfortable, and make sure that this gorgeous, great looking, state of the art facility is built correctly and that no one gets hurt in the process or no one gets hurt after it's open. That's what you should want. And again, if I say this, if you don't want that, you are the worst person on earth. All right. So it's out there. I don't see any pops ups. It's also late. It's almost 2 o'clock. So, um, let's see here. I think we got the first questions out of the way. Also, I want to say this. Uh, God bless you, Tina, for your work. Were it not for you, this thing may not have started getting legs to begin with. Um, I don't. My sources didn't seem to have heard of you, but there was definitely talk going on. Oh, and by the way, I did discover that the collapse that you referred to did happen, and my source explained it to me. I'm going to put that out because I want to make sure I've got what happened exactly correct before I put it out there. But I can tell you that a construction worker was almost hit but not injured. It was it hit scaffolding. There was a couple of parts, a couple of nodes, I believe, that came loose. Um, but fortunately, no one was hurt. But there was an incident. Okay, there was an incident. So what Tina was hearing was correct. All right. Okay. Um, and Eric P says, I feel Zen Raiders will be in Oakland next year. You're right. They need to get it right. Well, yeah, there's no shame in that. Hey, Richard, how you doing? There's no shame in getting it right. At all. There's no shame in getting it right. Hey, thanks, Sean. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Because, you wonder if if their people are kids, right? Oh, Richard. Richard said he just realized he was on his kid's account. What? Well, your kid's older than 13, so it's okay. But you wonder what's in the heads of people who try to shut you up, about a situation, something like this. And again, thanks, Sean. Well, he's only 9. Oh, no. Yeah, Eric P., the deadline is uh, April 1st. And this is December 2nd. So the deadline is fast approaching. Hey, Donis, How are you? How are you? The deadline is fast approaching. Uh, I was going to sign off and not going to stick around. My posse's coming in. Hello. Uh, and Sean, yeah, it's just getting back to what you were saying about keeping it real. I will say this, that stadium, when it's done, and when it's done right, is going to be gorgeous. But this fast track thing was just the wrong way to go. I mean, look, it just was. Richard Hike says, man, at what point do they eat crow and admit that there are problems and it's behind schedule? Well, they should. There's no shame in that because they keep rushing it, and the other problem I'm told is I didn't get too deep into it. It's a morale issue, uh, and the the situation is that uh, I'm right, Donis. The situation is that there are people representing different companies. I'm told that have been arguing with each other. Like for example, one subcontractor to Mortensen. It all, as my source says, it's always money. My source has worked on different projects for the last 30 years. And he said that. My other source said the same thing. Always money. Okay. Richard Hike says, I drove past over the weekend and got mad. It looks pretty cool, but it should have been in Oakland. Yeah. Joseph Amador says, I think the sponsorship money is driving decision not to be transparent is driving. Yeah. I think Joseph is right. The sponsorship money is driving the decisions to not be transparent. But here's my point. And here's why I take issue with that approach. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're absolutely right. Here's why I take issue with that approach. Okay, uh, is that and again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right, but I take issue with their idea because if you look at Atlanta Stadium, look at all the terrific sponsors they got, and yet every time, every single time, okay, every single time, every single time, and again, I'll repeat, every single time. How many times do I have to say it? Every single time. There was always this effort to overdress or overreport the sponsorship performance. And yet if you look at Atlanta Stadium, they got you turned around, they had Porsche, BMW, Coca-Cola. I mean the real Coca-Cola, not Reyes Coca-Cola bottling. I mean Coca-Cola. Okay. And it was funny because when one of the viewers out there was trying to get me to say that Coca-Cola was a sponsor and then not telling me who they were, right? And that's the one thing, okay? You know what? The difference between somebody who's really respectful of you and is trying, or if you as the story, as the news storyteller, and is trying to bring information to you, is that they're not hiding who they are, okay? It is being forced. Sean Watson says it feels like Steve's being forced. It is. They're not hiding who they are. The guys that called me today, they weren't hiding. Okay? They're real. I knew who they were. I could verify them. It wasn't like the guy who was saying, "Oh, Coca-Cola's going to sponsor it," and I would say, "Who are you?" And he wouldn't tell me his name. He wouldn't tell me how he knew what he thought he knew. And it turned out it wasn't Coca-Cola. It was Reyes Coca-Cola bottling. He could have been straight up honest with me. I wouldn't have used his name, but he didn't do it that way. He was very disrespectful. And he would get on Twitter and put stuff out. And I thought, what's wrong with this fella? Well, folks, I finally got people contacting me who are not just being butthole trolls. They work on the stadium, okay? Eric P., I'm not answering that question. The reason I'm not is because it's about me. And I don't, at this point, I'm really forcing you all. Well, I can't force anybody to do anything, but I'm asking you to focus on the problem at hand and not me. And you have a tendency to focus a lot on me, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. Okay. So my point is, it makes me a lot uncomfortable. So my point is, my demand is for you to stop doing that and focus on the discussion at hand. Because you ask the same questions again and again and again. You've asked me that before. And I don't understand why you keep repeating the same questions like you're not somebody you say you really are. Okay. Um, the lawsuit, this doesn't really impact the lawsuit at all. That lawsuit is does not come into play here, not directly, because that lawsuit has to do with lack of good faith and antitrust issues between the East Bay entities, the City of Oakland, the County of Alameda, the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, and the Raiders, and then by extension, the National Football League, which I think would prefer to stay out of it, but they don't have any choice. Um, because some of them are in it, some of them are not. Very complicated. The real story of all this is extremely complicated. Okay. Jacob P says, any chance the whole Raiders to Vegas thing doesn't happen with lawsuit and the stadium problems? Um, I did say there was an outside chance that there's an outside chance, but it's really remote. Okay. It would have to take something so gargantuanly bad regarding the stadium that the Raiders would have no choice but to stay in Oakland. And I didn't think this was that. But on the other hand, with all this rushing around, you wonder what's next. This society is replete with examples of, like Jacob P says, like, hey, um, let me put it this way: if the earthquake happened with the problems that are there now, and it was like a 5 on the Richter scale, even a 4 as opposed to a 3, I'd be concerned. I'm also concerned that the tremor from the last earthquake may have caused some damage that we don't know about. If you got bad welds and those welds are being stressed, okay, or bolts that are substandard and they're finding substandard bolt problems all along, how do we know those problems didn't happen because of that tremor, right? And they ran around saying, "Oh, no problem at all." Eh, really? Okay. See, everybody wants to get paid. And there's something in this society that we've come to where we do a lot in the public realm that's not up to our best stuff. Okay. And we should take collective shame in admitting that, and we should work like heck to make sure that we're doing the best to build whatever it is we build. Jojo says, but it gives Mark Davis something to worry about in addition with the stadium. Well, it does, but I don't. I mean, I know some of you don't agree with me, but I don't. I do not wish him ill at all. Um, I just don't. I understand, and I said this before, and I'll say this again. There's a lot of ways Mark Davis reminds me of me, and in that he's simply seeking respect in areas where he feels in his subconscious it's been difficult for him to get. And there's a lot of history that justifies what I just told you, right? So I've always rooted for Mark Davis as the underdog, in so much as he doesn't like that I take a critical eye on things. I get that. But look, hey, I look at it this way. The stadium project could be handled better. And if it was handled the way it should have been handled, and if Mark were open and had an all hands attitude, in other words, okay, Zenny, you got some ideas, I want your ideas. I give him hey, I'm happy to share my ideas with Mark. I've done it before, even though he's not treated me well, right? But it's about something bigger than Mark Davis. It's about the maintenance of the Raider way. It's about the maintenance of the Raider organization. Uh, and should it have been done in Oakland? We know it should have been. But the sad reality is that Mark didn't want it, and we just we have to go with that, and we have to adjust as best we can. That's a that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, myself included. But you have any choice, okay? Because it's not. I mean, as much as the Raiders are a public good, right? Um, it's not truly ours. It's his. So, hey, Ryan, how are you doing? So I'm gonna start reading your comments. Donna says, "Oh, Joseph says, believe it or not, but hairline fractures can cause serious damage, especially in the building stage." That did come up as to again discussions regarding hairline fractures. We didn't focus too much time on that. We focused on, I think, both structurally and deliberately on issues that my uh, my informants were most knowledgeable of. And they were very quick to say, if they introduced an idea and they weren't certain of it, they were very quick to say, well, we don't know about that, but we know about this because we worked on this. Okay. And then we had, just to show you things, we had this, I think someone had just texted one of the other guys as we were talking about another issue that came up that I wasn't informed about, but I'm going to be. Okay. So, um, boom. So let's see. Jacob P, how you doing, man? Jacob P says the Raiders have started asking for money from the people buying Allegiant Stadium season tickets. How could that be affected if the stadium isn't ready? What trouble will the Raiders be in? I think they would have to, off the top of my head, if you're buying a season ticket for the Raiders, the season ticket should, and the stadium isn't ready, the season ticket should simply just roll over to the next year. Okay, if you don't have anything going on this year, you bank it and you say, hey, this is good for next year. That's the simple way to handle it. Uh, so I don't see that there's much problem in that. Where I see a problem is when you're asking for sponsorship money and you have people who are counting on you to put their face out there on your edifice. Um, they might get upset if they were under the impression that their suites were going to be ready in 2020 and they made a lot of plans behind that and they find out that they're not. Uh, that's where I could see a slight rub. But I believe that a number of people are willing to wait for the stadium to be built correctly and then be assured that their sponsorship money is well spent in a facility that's state of the art, that's fully functioning, and that's open because it was ready. And that's a hand holding game that the Raiders have to play with their sponsorships, with their sponsors. Okay, they have to manage their sponsorships, right? And I think they can do that. I think they can do that. Uh, so Ryan says 2010 Kroenke bought remaining share of Ram, started arbitration over stadium. 2013 Howard Hollywood Park closed. 2014 he bought it. NFL City deals in real estate. 2015 Rams to LA. But you forgot one thing. He was basically telling the St. Louis he was going to stick around all the time, and therein lay the problem. Okay. Donut says, I respect you, but I have to disagree with you, my man. On. And then Donut says, anyway, it's late. I'm confused. I'm doing my Steve Martin. I am so confused. King. Anyway, let's see here. Sean Watts says, Mark needs to do an interview with you. Sure. Happy to, Happy to. So, any other parting shots or bon mots or upset tots? Parting shots, bon mots, upset tots. Oh, about Mark Davis? Well, that's you. I don't. Let me say something here, okay? Don't spend your time, and a lot of you are infected by the president. Donald Trump has divided the country in more ways than just the obvious. He has popularized the sport of us versus them, and everybody plays it out in some kind of way. And then social media reflects that, right? So suddenly someone's got to have somebody else to hate. Get out of that. It doesn't serve anyone well. It's counterproductive and it's stupid. More often than not, it's stupid. So always find common ground. Always work to find common ground. I guarantee you, you'll feel better for it at the end of the day. I contend that social media has made many of us ultra immature. It's taken 50-year olds and turned them into 25-year-olds in many cases. And sometimes it's taken 25-year-olds and turned the 25-year-old into a 14-year-old. Notice I didn't say anyone went up. Bright Abbott says, not a lot of time to do a publicly funded stadium for St. Louis. Privately moves super quick, of course. Um, Vegas Stadium is publicly funded. It's just that you can't rush something that takes 4 years. Okay, it it takes 4 years to do the thing. They might as well just be comfortable with it and get it right. But they've got a huge morale problem at that stadium. When you have people that find me and talk to me, and me, they are disgruntled. And because I'd be honest with you, I thought someone was going to say, okay, well, I'll tell you this for fee, right? Like TMZ pays for information. No, that was not this at all. Mm-mm. That never came up. I kept waiting. I was like, okay, they're going to say, nope, no, nothing like that. They are genuinely concerned about Las Vegas Stadium, and they work on it, and it's about a legacy for these folks. Okay, that's what it's about. And I think if Tommy White happens to be watching this right now, he would agree. All right, there's nothing wrong in getting it right. And there's everything right in getting it right. I'm telling you again, this is going to be a great thing for Vegas. Can you imagine when it's done? It just is. Take the whole Raiders, Oakland, Mayor Schaff, Clark County, Steve, all this personalities. Take that away for a second. Las Vegas has been jonesing for a large-scale event center since 2011. I followed it. Okay, Stephen Hill has been head deep in that thing. A number of people have been involved in that. Sisolak, uh, even Jen Giuliani when she was commissioner. Um, of course, Governor Sandoval, the great late the great former Governor Sandoval. All right. So hey, um, I love Vegas. Vegas deserves it. You know, but also this is about even something more than Vegas. This is about the future of the American economy and the maintenance of basic jobs that a person with, a single mother can string together a job over at T-Mobile Stadium and then over at Las Vegas Stadium and make a, decent income and feed her kids, right? Something that folks used to be able to do at the Coliseum, and that's frittering away. And our administration, under my god sister, is doing nothing about it. That's wrong. All right, I got to go to bed. As Donis said, anyway, it's late. Good night, everybody. If you got any questions, don't hesitate. Richard, thanks for being there, man. Brian Abbott says XFL uniforms come out Tuesday. Yeah, but no, hey, Oakland Panthers, man. Get a season ticket. I like that. Oakland Panthers, man. Isn't that appropriate? Oakland Panthers. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you.